All right, meeting will come to order. Ms. Gore, will you call the roll?
Ms. Conley,
Present.
Dr. Dion,
Present.
Mr. Benjamin.
Present.
Mr. Dunn,
Present.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Will you all please stand? We will say the pledge. I will ask Ms. Williams to lead us in the pledge, followed by a moment of silence.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Thank you. Ms. Gore, any citizens' comments? We have none. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Viox, second by Ms. Conley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. We'll move to reports. Chairman's report. I don't have a chairman's report except the fact that there are cupcakes here from Frost, and I've considered taking my time so that we all just eat a cupcake during my report. Does everybody have a cupcake yet? Does everybody have a cupcake?
So,
No? The score? All right, we will not do that. However, I really considered it deeply, but we will pass on. Honestly, the only thing is I've just been watching some things come through, Mr. Mayor, that you've sent us, which is really cool on, I know you're probably going to talk about that. You're not going to talk about that?
not tonight.
All right, that's good with me. It's just been really cool to see some of those things come through and just the progress specifically that was made at middle school and just the continued progress at our other schools. So just really thankful for that, thankful for the work that is getting done. And so we're just glad to see those things. But yeah. All right, that is all for my report. We'll move on to your report.
All right,
Mr.
thank
Mayor.
you. Believe it or not, I don't really have a report tonight. I'm not going to talk about anything. This is a first, shocker. But I did send you all quite an extensive report last Saturday with a lot of information, a lot of details, and then I sent you all the information today about test scores, and that'll probably be in the Daily Memphian as well. So we're pleased with our results, and you know, always room to grow, room to plan, and our principals take that seriously and use that to kind of guide their PLC work and those kind of areas where we're really targeting specific areas where we know where we need to grow, and we know how to attack that. I do want to take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Chris Davis, our new high school principal. If you all haven't met him, he's been working already a lot. He's not official till July the 1st, but at his initiation, he has met with a lot of the faculty members and inviting them in to have one-on-one introduction meetings so that they can, you know, put a name with the face and start building a relationship and getting to know each other. And he's been doing some staffing and had interviews today for high school guidance position. And so he's been hitting the ground running as Ms. Blackburn at our middle school has as well. So we're happy to have him. He brings a lot of great experience to this position. He's older than he looks, and he's had some really good experience. Yeah, we checked it out. But anyway, we're looking forward to having you and working with you. It's been great so far. So the only other thing I have is letting the board know that we have our offices will be closed next week for the entire week to give our employees some time off, and with understanding that they know when they come back July 8th, it's all on. So enjoy your free time, because when we get back, it really starts getting hectic and serious, and we have about a month off during the, I don't even say off, but it's low key for the month of June, and then once July 4th hits, it's pretty starts getting pretty intense. So anyway, they deserve that time off, and I hope that everyone will take advantage of that and enjoy that. The only report I have is for Dr. Clark, and she's not here. She's actually on vacation, but she did send me a report. And basically, this is about a staffing update, just to let you all know where we are. We're in really good shape on staffing. Overall, we've got 10 classified positions. We've got 2 SPED assistants, 1 ISS monitor, some part-time nutrition techs, 1 full-time nutrition tech, and a couple of cafeteria monitors. And then we've got 3 certified positions, teaching type positions. We've got a STEM teacher at DES, SPED teacher at DES, and then a school counselor at the high school. And we're expecting those positions to be filled by the end of this week. And this is really the last week that we can scour people from other school districts, because by state law, they have to be able to give a 30-day notice prior to their contract starting. So this is kind of the last week that people can switch districts within the municipals, or, you know, to be in compliance with contract law. So we try to take advantage of that and get down to the wire sometimes. It's 5 o'clock Friday afternoon. Even though we're closed on Fridays, we're still staffing during that time. So anyway, we're in good shape as far as that's concerned with staffing, and that concludes my report this evening.
Awesome, thank you. I will take just some time back really quick to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank
You
you.
didn't do that.
Are we not gonna sing?
We should
For real?
sing.
Let's sing.
Yeah, let's sing. Everybody, let's sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Mayo. Happy birthday to you. Come on.
Thank you. I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be than a school board meeting on my birthday. No, built-in friends, I like that.
There you go.
So,
Give that guy an extra cupcake. All right, financial reports. Any questions for Ms. Sappsley? Ms. Sappsley, you need to tell us anything good, bad, or ugly? Okay, all's well.
She's fantastic as usual.
We still have money? That's good.
Excellent, that's right.
We do still have money.
You know what, that's all we need to know. Thank you, appreciate your work, you do, really do. Really do. Legislative liaison, Reverend Dunn.
Yes, I do have a few things to share. So, the 113th Tennessee General Assembly convened on January 9th. You all are aware of that. And what we have as a part of our agenda today for consideration is the culmination of all these legislative changes, which is, in total, is 24 proposed policies, which, from my limited experience, that's a lot. That's what I've been told. Now, these policies include everything from our very first artificial intelligence policy to even minor changes where we're replacing references to things like the old BEP formula and the new TISA funding mechanism. And I think it's fair to say that our policy changes, and given everything I've read and understand, will once again, and this happens every year from what I'm learning, revamp, reshape the responsibilities of our students, our parents, teachers, and our administrators. Now, thankfully, we do have great leaders at each of the schools, and that's the great thing with our principals and all the other staff, and so that does ease some of the uncertainty as we navigate through these mandated changes. Now, another thing I think is worth noting as well is that the governor indicated that there will be more changes when the General Assembly reconvenes on January the 14th, 2025, and the governor still plans to pursue rolling out a robust voucher program in Tennessee.
we'll be ready.
So Superintendent Mayo, get your scripts for your videos ready. I don't know what you're gonna call these, but
Part 2.
part 2, okay.
That's right.
So, but the TSBA has also reached out to us. They've requested that we submit some of our suggestions for new legislation, and we will, on August the 26th, meet in our Delta District meeting, and that's where, of course, we'll have some of these discussions, which probably need to come with some ideas as well.
Yeah.
And that's my update.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Williams,
Second.
second by Ms. Conley. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion passes. It's a long one. We'll move to business recommended items. Mr. Mayo.
Okay, I'm getting old, y'all. I think I'm on the wrong agenda.
It's all right.
Give me a minute.
Enjoy your cupcake in a moment.
Yeah. Well, carry on. This thing never wants to cooperate with me.
I know, that's exactly the way I feel.
Score, can you get us some Jeopardy music? I wish we'd had that.
Take your time, it's your birthday.
We need to do that going forward.
Going forward. Get that prepared for us from now on. Awesome.
Jeopardy.
Okay, I'm just going to go off this. It's not cooperating. So the first item on the recommended action items is policy 4.405. As Mr. Dunn referenced, artificial intelligence. That's a new policy. And typically our process is when we have a brand-new policy, we don't put that on consent agenda. We discuss it or open it up for discussion. So I'm going to ask Ms. Speakman, once this gets on the floor, to tell us a little information about it. She and I have been talking back and forth quite a bit. She's been talking to other staff members, mainly technology. So it's my recommendation that the board approve policy 4.405, artificial intelligence, for item 7A.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation to have a motion to
Mr.
approve.
Chair, I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Biak, second by Mr. Dunn. Any discussion? We'll have you come and speak to us, Ms. Speakman. Explain this to us.
Yeah, that's right. That's a no. And so that's where I was going to start by saying I'm not an expert in the field of artificial intelligence. And so I have spoken with some of you, and I know Mr. Dunn, for one, has, really started his study of artificial intelligence and about, where it's going to take us and that sort of thing. But for those of you who aren't quite as schooled, in other words, like me, artificial intelligence takes on all kinds of meanings. And the definition of artificial intelligence as prescribed by the Tennessee General Assembly is contained in the policy. But that's fancy words and that sort of thing. So in my mind, here are the extremes. You got the movie type people, transformers, all that kind of stuff. And then you got your phone, right? Which when you text something, it thinks it wants you to write a certain word, and you intend to write a different word, and it gives you suggestions of the word that you were meant to text. Or if you misspelled something, that's artificial intelligence. So we're already using that, all of us are. But the big stuff, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and that sort of thing, the killer stuff, that's the other extreme. And so when we tried to craft this policy, we were required to do this by the Tennessee General Assembly. And so a group of us got together, and Mr. Overby, thankfully, was one of the people on the committee, and he obviously understands it way better than I do. And Mr. Winkler, Mr. Goforth, et cetera. And so where we ended up was realizing that this is just a place to start, because we really don't know where artificial intelligence in the schools is going to take us. Are the teachers going to like it? Are they not going to like it? Are the students going to use it in a way that they're not supposed to? Are they going to use it responsibly? Is it a great tool? Is it not a great tool? And so what we tried to do was just kind of put some common sense stopgap measures in here for things that we know in other school districts and in the country have proven to be problematic. So I'm just going to run over those real quickly. So one is that students, teachers, and staff shall not enter personally identifiable information into any artificial intelligence system. Now, that's obviously commonsensical. You don't want your, name and social security number and bank account number and all that stuff in something that's so uncertain. So that's one of the things. The second one is AI may not be used to make employment decisions. Now, what we've seen in the law is that there are some companies who got out in front of AI and they said, hey, we're going to put in some prescriptions of stuff that we might want for employees, but as it turns out, AI discriminated against people in making employment decisions. So, for example, if you put in certain things, it might say, okay, well, then we're going to screen out all the women for example. So we want to make sure that we use it responsibly in making employment decisions, which at this point is to not use it at all in terms of making employment decisions. The next one is that students may only use AI for curriculum purposes, and that's if their teacher approves it. The next one is before approving the use of AI for curriculum purposes, teachers shall ensure that the AI system used by students is age appropriate. And we know we have a lot of laws in Tennessee right now that make us have a check and balance about what, and especially digital stuff, is age appropriate and what is not. And so it will make you happy to know, I think, that Mr. Winkler and Mr. Overby have put in some I guess, sort of stopgap measures to ensure that the students' ability to use AI is somewhat limited by the types of digital technology that we will have available to them through our own internet. So that's one good thing. But still, we want to make sure that teachers are taking a look at what students are using and making sure that it is, in fact, age appropriate. When using AI for purposes set forth in the policy, students, teachers, and staff shall cross-check and verify information. Now, this is really interesting for people in my profession because you may have heard on the news that some lawyers have been sanctioned because they have used AI inappropriately. What they did was, and you know, these are youthful people in my profession, decided that they were going to take a stab at using this, and so they put in certain parameters that they were looking for in their research, and AI gave them just what they asked for. Unfortunately, by the time that the law clerks for the judges reviewed those citations that were cited in the briefs, turns out they weren't citations at all. AI just made them up. So that made some judges really angry, as you might imagine. And so some judges still say you can't use AI in brief writing right now. So that's a lesson that we learned, that we said, you know, let's let the teachers know from the get-go and students know from the get-go. If they're going to use AI, they need to use multiple sources to make sure that all those AI sources agree. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the next one is that AI shall not be used as a substitute for the student's own work. And this one, obviously, is where the rubber meets the road. I mean, we don't want some artificial intelligence doing all the work, because then by the time that you get to college, you don't know how to write something. You don't know how to research things. And so plagiarism, obviously, is a big part of our present technology policy that we currently have. And so that's kind of, at the end of the day, what we're going to use as our check and balance is our existing technology policy, which you guys passed a long time ago, which says that, you know, you can't plagiarize, you can't use technology for inappropriate purposes, you can't use it to be cruel to people, you can't use it to, you know, say swear words and, you know, bad things. So, and then that would be the vehicle, along with this policy, that we will use to enforce the policy and discipline teachers, students, staff if they use AI inappropriately. So I'm telling you all these things that, you know, we put in as, you know, do's and don'ts. But at the end of the day, what we want you to know is that because this is such an uncertain area, we don't want to use this policy to be a sword. We don't want it to be something that causes teachers and students to be in trouble all the time just because, you know, they are maneuvering through this new technology. So again, we don't want to just go out there disciplining everyone on the first step by just because they're trying to learn how to use all this stuff. And so that's why it's so limited. And Mr. Mayo called to my attention that some of my colleagues have been in seminars that maybe you've attended that have suggested that the AI policy be, you know, this needs to be something that's 20 or 30 pages long and be all inclusive. And after Mr. Mayo and I spoke and the committee and I spoke, we just decided that that's not the right approach, is to presume that we're going to include everything on this first step out. So that's where we ended up. This is what it's intended to do and intended not to do. Does anybody have any questions?
More of a comment. Scott and I were at Legislative and Legal in February, and we heard from somebody who was an expert in AI. And I will say, after I was reading through that policy, you had all of her high points.
Oh, good.
And her point was to yours, specifically that it should not be 30 or 40 pages long. And she didn't really get into why. I think it's just because it's emerging. The overall concerns were just like you said, writing and math and even art at this point now that it can do. But I think it's a great jumping off point. And if I'm a high school student, I'm probably going to figure out little ways around that, and we'll learn as we go, and we'll amend it as we go, just like we always do. But to suspend somebody for something, there's no clear rule or really any way to do it seems overly punitive.
Oh, good. I'm glad that's consistent with what you've heard from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. Remember her, Scott? She was
Oh,
good.
yeah,
She was,
without a doubt.
it was very, that and the NIL thing was both really,
Both of
really
those were
interesting.
good stuff.
Oh, good.
So I say good job. I think it's a great,
Okay.
it looks great.
Good
So
deal.
there's not a uniform policy across the state or anything like that? They're just going,
You have to
hey,
make your own.
create your own, whatever you're comfortable with in your own district is kind of how this thing's rolling out right now. Is
That
correct?
is how it's rolling out. The requirement that you have a policy is actually contained in that 203 section
Right.
that all board members, are familiar with. That says, here's what boards do, and here's what boards, can do. Here's what they must do. Here's what they can do. So it says you have to have a policy, and you have to have this definition of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So, but as Dr. Viax alluded to, like you say, students are going to get around
Sure.
things. They're going to
It's literally
create
their whole job.
problems, maybe, well, that was a cynical view of it. Not necessarily problems, maybe they're good things that come of it. But to the extent that they do create problems, then we want to be able to come back to you and with your mercy saying, here's what we've now found out. We didn't know it going in, but here's what we've found out. So just like.
I think we're all going to learn a lot.
I do
in the
too,
next
I do
5
too,
years.
yeah. And as my joke for the day, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, we'll be back.
Hey, my only, hang on, I had
Yep.
another question.
Yep.
So how would we handle that? Maybe it's a question for you. If we encounter something that's not in our policy yet and we go, oh, that's really bad, we should have thought about that. Is it just, okay, somebody got away with it the first time and now we have to amend the policy? Is that kind of how this flows and plays out?
Well, I mean, I think you can tie it to behavior, even though it's an AI policy, if the behavior represents something that's already covered in our discipline policy,
Right.
then that gives the principals and student services the ability to, give an appropriate consequence,
Right. Okay.
for that behavior.
Okay.
I think you have to
That makes
relate
sense.
it back to behavior.
Okay. that makes
And if
sense.
it's an employee, on the other hand, their ethics policy
That's right.
similarly
That's right.
would talk about, that catch-all about professional behavior.
It's funny you say that too, because the expert said that traditionally the teachers have gotten in trouble by exploring some of this for the very reasons you say. Like AI doesn't discriminate, it just throws out, and it did in her instances a couple of times, just completely made something up.
Yeah.
In particular images, and they gave it some words and they say, hey, make this image, and the images were terrible.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you when I'm texting, what I'm intending and what I see down there are oftentimes very
Same.
different.
That's true. Yeah. That's right.
All right, thank you for your
Awesome.
time.
Hey, thank you. All right, any other additional comments before we vote? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, the motion passes.
Okay.
Second, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next
Small world
item.
over here.
7B.
I need AI to speak for me. 7B, please.
Next item is 7B, and that's the recommendation for the approval of the IDA, ESEA, that's the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, federal funds allocations for 24-25. So it is my recommendation that you all approve that. I have, if you get this item on the floor, if you have questions about the funding amounts for those particular categories, I can explain those, or I can tell you what they are. I won't say I can explain them.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation, that the board approves item 7B, the approval of IDA, ESEA federal funds allocations for 2024-2025 school year.
Okay, for the superintendent's recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Dr. Viak, second by Ms. Conley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes.
Okay, the next item is 7D, no?
C.
7C is the approval of, the recommended approval for the bid awarded to Itaros HVAC in the amount of $204,114.72 for HVAC replacements at Arlington High School, and the authority of the superintendent to negotiate the terms of the contract. I will tell you that item is on our CIP plan that you all approved as part of our budget process recently. So this is basically, it's been put out for bid, and this is the bid that's come back, and it falls within the amount that we funded, that we allocated for that. So with that, it's my recommendation that you approve 7C, approval of bid awarded to Itaros HVAC in the amount of $204,114.72 for HVAC replacements at Arlington High School, and the authority of the superintendent to negotiate the terms of the contract.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. To have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Motion by Ms. Williams,
Second.
second by Ms. Conley. Any discussion?
I want the high school to have air conditioning.
Me too.
Yes, that'd be a good thing.
Mr. Davis does too.
I'm sure Mr. Ruff remembers the time he put a bunch of them out in, say, July or August, when it was a ton of them, wasn't it? That's good, that's good.
Awesome. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The item, motion carries.
All right. Next item is 7D, and it is my recommendation that you all approve the AHS partial re-roofing bid award to ARC Roofing in the total lump sum amount of $905,849, and to approve the contract between Arlington Community Schools Board of Education and ARC Roofing. Again, that item has already been allocated on our CIP plan, and it's a little bit less for this portion than what we actually allocated. And remember, this says partial, so this will be a multi-year process as we get the roof redone at Arlington High School. So with that, that's my recommendation.
Okay. You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Dunn, second by Dr. Viak. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Okay. Last item is item 7E. It's my recommendation that you all approve to renew the SKB cleaning services contract for a period of 12 months, July the 1st, 2024 through June the 30th, 2025, at the rate of $109,032.45 per month, less non-performance penalties, if any, and to allow the superintendent the authority to negotiate the terms of the parties' agreement. I will tell you that's a 3% increase, and some employees will receive a portion of that as far as their pay, but they're basing it sort of on similar to kind of what we're trying to do with longevity pay. Like if you've been there longer, there's a more a greater incentive or a greater raise for the longer you've been there. But it's my understanding that every employee will benefit from that increase that we're absorbing as well. And we've had a really good year with SKB. I think putting those parameters in place that we did last year with letting them know that we will assess penalties for work that's not done has carried a lot of weight. So we'll continue that this upcoming year.
That's good. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I move.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Conley, second by Dr. Vios. Any discussion?
Just one thing, Superintendent, are they seeing employee retention there? Because I know the year before, they had a lot of issues.
I think this was a much better year, because if you'll remember, last year, we came with we got some criticism from one of our fellow school boards, because we raised.
It generated some emails.
We raised the rate of, we increased our fee to SKB so that they could raise their rate of pay for $15 an hour last year
Right.
to be competitive, because they were losing people to the airport and all of that. So I think that's really helped. I think we've had less gaps, here we've experienced, and we're a hard area to keep
It's
staff
far.
because of our location. It's
Yeah.
kind of remote from where most of the employees that work for SKB are actually coming from. They run vans to try to get people out here, but I think we've had less of that for sure this year, so that would imply that their retention rate is better due to that
Well, I
increased
guess
salary.
you sort of got to my real question, is our return on investment
Yeah.
was well worth it then at that
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
If everyone's happier and,
And the quality of work has been better. There's still room for improvement.
Sure.
And we still have our glitches every once in a while that we have to address, but they're very quick to address it. Once we, call Mr. Ruff and say, hey, I didn't pick up the trash yesterday, then somebody will be over there within 20 minutes to make sure they've done that.
that's great news.
Yeah.
Is that typically how it's done? If, say, I'm a teacher and walk into my classroom and it's kind of in disarray, or it didn't get mopped, or it's sticky, or whatever, the trash didn't get emptied, does the teacher let?
They let their principal or their own plant manager know.
Okay.
And then that plant manager is supposed to take care of the problem and then report it to Mr. Ruff, so that then Mr. Ruff can report it to SKB management.
Okay, gotcha, cool.
I like it.
All right, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We got pushback last year on this one. Have you received any pushback on our latest increase in pay that we've given to?
Just envy, just utter envy. I had a call from another HR person today who I've known for a long time, and she was trying to hire somebody that she thought that I knew, and so she wanted to ask me about the person, and she's like, we can't compete with y'all on these salaries or whatever. This was like for an administrative position, so that's a little bit different.
It was an interesting thing. I was at a pastor's conference this last week, and I met a guy there that works, he's from a different church, and he works at he's a teacher in a school system. And he talked about, so he's over in East Tennessee, and talked about them raising their pay up for entering teachers up to the 52,000 level, but they did not do it across the board.
Mm-hmm.
They only did it, it's absolutely wrong, and so they only did it for incoming and new teachers that they hire. And I said, well,
Awesome.
maybe
So
you
the-
should consider coming to Arlington.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Because we did it, exactly.
recruit
Because we
those
do it across the
positions
board.
we
He's
need.
like, wait a minute, y'all do that across the board? I'm like, yeah, why would we just do it for entering teachers? Why don't we do it for everybody? And he was like, that's crazy.
And that's one of the things I found when we were actually researching that before we brought a recommendation to you all, was that even those that may have done that last year, they may have raised it to 50 or 51.5 or something like that.
It's gonna be stagnant.
They weren't increasing it. It might go up $50. You get a $50 raise
Yeah.
because you're a second-year teacher, and then
Right.
next year you get 100. So it was very insignificant
Yep.
to apply that to everybody. And I think a lot of that's compliance. That's, districts have to comply with the state law. But I think what we did is aggressive, and will continue to help us to be able to recruit, high-quality people. And, that was the goal, just to keep, if you want to transfer here from another municipal school district and you've got 10 years of experience, our 10 years salary line looks a lot different from where you are in even another local municipal district.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Very good. All right, anything else? All right, we're dismissed.
Piece of time.